Go ahead.
And welcome to the Binge Aftertaste. This is Garrett Collins. It's been a while. I'm happy to be back. And tonight we have a very, very special show. One, I'm on the air with somebody I haven't been on the air with at Binge Media yet, and I'm looking forward to that. And two, there's a gentleman that we're interviewing that I am really excited to interview because he's got some really cool things cooking, and he's in Tribeca Film Festival, and we're going to talk about it all. But first, I am joined tonight for the first time ever, by Mr. Jim Kupka. How are you, sir?
Not too bad, my friend. How are you?
Good. Happy to finally be on the air with you. I've listened to, of course, I'm a member of the site, but I've also listened to the shows that you've done, the video game shows, which I love, by the way, and everything you've done. And I'm happy to finally be doing a show with you, man. It's very exciting for me. How's your week been, man? You gotten into anything as far as movies go, or what's your week been like?
We're sorry about that. I didn't realize if I was blanking there. I had audio feedback coming through because the Hangout started airing live in my ear, and I didn't realize I had the window open. No, week's been good. Week's been really good for everything outside of the normal work routine. So. Got some gaming in, so for the Binge Gamecast, which will be coming next week. Got to catch the new Furious 7 last week, which was fucking fun as hell. And
nice.
Other than that, just trying to still catch up on some TV that I've been lacking on since basically the holidays. Finally starting to get caught up with Agent Carter and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before May 1st when the second Avengers comes out.
Oh yeah, I cannot believe how fast that movie came out. It seems like only last month that I went with a group of like 12 people to go see the first one, and all of a sudden here comes the second one just right around the corner. It's amazing to me to think about,
It is pretty crazy, especially when you consider how much goes into that. But then it also makes sense when the credits are twice as long as they were 5 years ago because they have so many people working on them, as you would know.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I did want to get out there. The reason why my work for the site has been a little offhand lately is because I've been helping put a premiere together for Refuge, which is going to be on the 24th of April in San Francisco. We have a red carpet. We have everything all set up. It's a night to remember for sure. And so for the first time, I'm actually going to get to experience that. And, after 3 years of working on a film, it's going to be very nice to actually be able to experience that,
That is awesome. That sounds really awesome.
I'm excited for that. And another thing I wanted to, before we get to our guests, I did want to cover something with you. So
sure.
for the last, I don't know, 14 years, there's been a series that's been around that I've never touched. I've stayed away from. I mean, even when I've been assigned to review one of them, I've always been like, well, someone else should take this because I have no interest. Kupka, this week, I finally broke the chain. One of my roommates got a hold of a Blu-ray set of the Fast and Furious films, and I may or may not have access to the 7th film. So this last week, I've been going into virgin territory, and I've gone through the first 5.5 Fast and Furious films.
And your thoughts so far?
For the very first time. Here's my thoughts. A lot of people hate on 3. I've figured that out. And I don't mind the 3rd one. I actually like the 3rd one. I really, really like the 5th one. But
yeah, the 5th seems to be a lot of people's favorites.
Yeah, I think that's just a flat-out just fun action film. But the reason why I only got through 5.5 was last night we were watching 6, and halfway through, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but one of the characters who has been away from the series has amnesia. And I swear to God, Kupka, as soon as I saw that, I got up, I said, fuck this, and I walked away from the TV. I turned it off, and I haven't watched it since. So I don't know if I'm going to get to the 7th one. I really want to, because I'm hearing it's amazing. But that really turned me off. I was like, what the fuck? You know?
Okay, I can understand that, and if I will tell you that continues into part 7. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and know that now. In the event you do decide to go back and finish 6, it is as ridiculous of a plot point as this entire series of movies is. And if you think about it that way, and just let it go and accept it, because the whole thing, especially this last one, there is some shit that is done. See, you haven't gotten to one of the most ludicrous scenes you'll ever see, no pun intended, in part 6, between a tank and a car. And
no, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, so I thought that was crazy. There's some shit in 7 that makes that look like fucking Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's all about the absurdity and the lunacy, and I think it is something tough to swallow, because when I was with you, when that happened, I was like, really? That's what they're doing? But knowing, and maybe it helped, but I was binge watching it like you are. That, I went with it. I was having such a blast. 3 isn't as bad as everyone says. It's definitely the worst, in my opinion, although I do have to revisit part 2. But, yeah, I'm really big fan of this franchise now, and I'm really upset the only one I've seen on a big screen was part 7. Because I did not see any of them after 2 because of the shit that 3 took. So I binge watched them all before last weekend and was really pleased I did.
Yeah, I think I will finish them. I mean, I have them at my disposal, and I'm a big James Wan fan. I've made no apologies for that. I'm happy the guy has, jumped that hurdle, and he's got a movie release that made $400 million this last week. It's incredible for me to think about. So I will definitely, I'll probably finish it. But last night I just wasn't in the mood. I said, what? I just couldn't.
I hear you. And you bring up the number $400 million. 6 finished grossing $734 million. So I have a very good feeling that this movie is going to break the $1 billion barrier.
Incredible.
Think about that. If you would have, Howard, 14 years ago told me a Fast and Furious movie is going to make $1 billion, I would have laughed in your fucking face and never talk to you again until like 3 weeks from now when that happens.
I don't know. I don't know if this is worth pointing out. I don't know if they pointed this out in the last. I haven't listened to the last binge cast yet. Like I said, it's been a busy week. But I just want to throw this out there before we get our guests on the line. Do you think the death of Paul Walker has anything to do with that?
I do. I completely do. I think it will see the true story in this week's numbers, depending on how much of a drop-off in comparison to previous films. But, again, it could, that the good word of mouth could also, because I don't think there's really anything good coming out this week. So between that and a good word of mouth, I think that can kind of counterbalance itself. So in the end, is it ultimately going to matter? I don't think so. I would say maybe 10%. Because, you still got the subject matter. It's a gratuitous guy flick. One of the things they talked about many times on the binge cast this week was the amount of gratuitous ass shots. And there are plenty. They could have cut the movie by about a good 20 minutes had they eliminated 25 minutes of videos.
Gotcha.
Basically just MTV-style shots of, here's some fly honeys and some sport cars, and let's put some ridiculous music behind it for about a good 2 to 3 minutes, bringing you to the next scene. But that's what they do, and they do it well.
Yeah, positively. I like I said, I'm happy, and I'll finish watching it. But I'll say this, I'm not as big into cars. I'm not like a real macho guy where it's like cars are. I'm not really too into cars. So, and I know what this series' bread and butter is, but for what they are, the first couple being Point Break ripoffs notwithstanding, they're not bad. They're not bad. I can see the appeal in them. I really can. And so I'm happy I've actually been able to take that nosedive into those films.
Fantastic.
All right, man. You ready to get this our tonight's guest on the line?
I think I am. Let me send him a little message here and see how long it takes him to join us. In the meantime, while we're waiting for him, you did message me yesterday saying that you finally got a chance to sit down and watch a short film. And,
Yes.
you seem pretty excited to begin this conversation we're about to have.
I have to be honest with you, Jim. A lot of times when people ask me, "Can you have so and so on the air? Can you, is there a way, this guy's a friend of mine. He's got a movie coming out. Is there a way you can get him on the line?" If it doesn't come from me, I find 9 times out of 10 the interview doesn't really go that well because I'm not too, I'm not too into the interview. That's happened in the past. That happened with my last site a bunch of times. I gotta tell you, when I watched this film that we're gonna talk about tonight, it hit a spot with me. It really hit a spot with me. I think it's just because of the generation we're from. But I really, really liked this film. It's called The Evolution of the Generation X Music Producer. I thought it was amazing. Yes, Purchaser. Sorry, it's an amazing short. So I'm really excited to talk to him. And and I wasn't really excited until I watched it last night, and I was like, holy shit, this is this guy really has something here.
Well, I'm sure he's glad to hear that, and he is here with us. Welcome, Jack.
What's up, Jim? And yeah, dude, that's pretty awesome to hear, considering the effort that went into it. So it's cool to hear when people actually respond to it.
Jack,
man, it's
Jack.
What?
Awesome, Jack. It's pleasure getting to talk to you, man. Like I said, I mean, I did a lot of, when it comes to guests, I always do a lot of research, and I was looking at stuff that you've done, and when I actually got to watch your short, which we're gonna talk at length about, but I was pleasantly surprised. And an interesting side note, my brother is he's actually visiting me this week, and he's 22 years old. Yeah. So he was right at that cusp of buying CDs at that time, and I showed him yesterday, and he really liked it too. He really liked it. So it's a pleasure to get to talk to you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. I'm happy that thing's done, and it's out of my hands, and I can't make any more changes to it, and it's done, and now I can just kind of talk about it.
Yeah.
How long total? Sorry, Garrett.
No, you're good.
Total production time for the film?
Well, the Kickstarter ended about a year ago. So I don't know, 11 months, just about. 3 days of that was actual shooting. So shooting the film is actually the quickest part. It's all the pre-production, the planning, the figuring out the songs, the clearing the artwork, and then it was just I think we picture locked in maybe November or October, something like that. So we haven't made, in November we picture locked. So ever since then it was getting all the songs approved, which is a very time-consuming process. So yeah, it was basically around 11 months to finish the whole thing, which is kind of crazy considering it's 8 fucking minutes long. But so it seems to have paid off. So I'm glad people like it. It's cool that I got into one of the bigger festivals. So
I was gonna ask you about the music clearing part, Jack, because you have everybody from Slayer to 9 Inch Nails. I mean, everybody's in this movie. How was that process? Like, how long did it take you to get all that stuff cleared?
It really depended on the band. There was a Slayer song that I initially cleared that they cleared in about a month, and then I decided I didn't want that one, and I wanted a different one, and it took around 6 months to get their manager to finally say, okay, cool, and they didn't approve that until like February. Weezer, who I was told basically that there's almost no way they'll actually approve the song, so don't even bother. They approved within like 3 days. Like I sent the request out, and 3 days later, Universal, who controls their master recordings, responded and said, the music gods must be with you because Weezer just approved. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. White Zombie, the song that opens the film, was approved in like 4 hours.
Oh.
The song that plays when they're sitting on the couch, it's like the end. It's a part of a Jurassic 5 song that got approved really quickly. But I had tried to clear, I'd say, 4 other songs in there before going to that song, and those took forever. And basically, every single one I tried were either denied flat out or just no one ever got back to me. And then the song that ends the movie, which is a song by an Australian hip-hop group called Jackie Onassis, that got approved relatively quickly. I found those guys on Twitter and just asked who their management was. And they're repped by, I think it's like a Universal Australia or something like that. And their guy sent me to another guy who sent me to another guy, and then that finally got approved. And then the sample they used had to be approved as well, and that got approved relatively quickly. So I mean, some of it was, took forever and a day. Other things, I sent the email out, and within 4 hours they sent me an approval. So.
And that's always the toughest part. That's one of the. I mean, there's so many tough parts of filmmaking, but I mean, we kind of went through that. I did an independent film that's coming out this year. And we had to get the approval of Friday the 13th from Paramount to be able to use it. And, I was dreading doing it, but I sent them an email, and they literally got back. I sent them an email with, a portion of the script that we're going to be using, and they literally got back to me within, like you said, it was about maybe 10 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
It's amazing that to think that, these people, they allow you to use your art to your ability,
right,
to use their product to help you with your art. And it sounds like that really happened with what you have here, because I mean, your film, like you said, I guess we can call it a film. It's it really speaks to a generation, and I think that's what a lot of the music producers saw. Did you have to send them a part of the script, or how exactly did you get that?
Yeah, so it depended on the group. White Zombie didn't give a damn. They just, like I said, I think they just. I mean, it depends on the artist. So I think like someone like Rivers Cuomo, the guy from Weezer, I believe he has to see it in order to approve it. So I have no idea if he actually saw it, or maybe his business manager saw it and was like, "Oh, he'd love this. I'll just approve." And then the Jurassic 5 song, they had to see it, so I had to send them a clip of it. Slayer didn't need to see it, I don't think. But whenever you fill out a request form, you have to give kind of a detailed scene description, so they at least know what you're using it for. So, yeah, that was a giant pain in the ass half the time, because like I would have a cut of the film, and sometimes without, and I'm no editor, so I would load these things up into iMovie and, mute the entire clip, and then just throw a new song in there, and then output it to Vimeo, and then have to give them an email saying, okay, there's no dialogue in this scene, but here's what they're actually saying, because I didn't have the splits and then finally I got the splits and figured out how to do all of that stuff. But yeah, it was a really, arduous, time-consuming. There were days where I would just sit for hours trying to find a song that would fit, and then sometimes I would find something that was amazing, and I'd send an email off and get denied like right away.
Okay.
So the process sped up a lot once I figured out who I actually had to email. Because if you go to like Universal's website, there's nothing on there that says, "Hey, fill out this form for a master request." They give you like a fax number. And that's like you basically send them a fax, and hopefully they ever respond to you. I finally got in touch with the people who handle gratis requests and film festival requests, and once I got in touch with them, the process sped up much quicker. So,
gotcha.
It's basically it really is like if you ever hire a music supervisor or a clearance supervisor, what you're basically paying them for is to avoid the amount of time that goes into finding out who you actually have to get in touch with. So
yeah,
that was a long process.
We'll get back to the evolution of a Gen X music producer a little later. I definitely want to talk a lot about
Purchaser,
that.
damn it! It's purchaser.
Purchaser. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry, and I'm looking at it right in front of me. I'm sorry. Purchaser. I apologize. Hey, I'm a producer, Kupka. Leave me alone.
I know. I feel like you're trying to fucking just throw that out there constantly. Like, hey, I'm a fucking producer. Goddammit.
I apologize. I apologize. We'll get to that. I did want to get kind of like your beginnings. I'm looking at your IMDb page right now, Jack. It says that you suffer from a retinal disease. Is that true?
That is correct.
What do you have, and how did you actually overcome that to get to where you are?
So I wouldn't say I've overcome it. I just kind of dealt with it.
Yeah.
It's called retinitis pigmentosa, and it is a genetic disease that starts with night blindness, and then basically leads to tunnel vision, so you lose all your peripheral vision, and then you eventually typically go blind, usually. So I'm basically at the stage now where I kind of have no peripheral vision anymore, and so I have pretty severe tunnel vision, and so like I need like a sight cane to walk around with, mainly to alert other people that I can't see them and they should be alert and not walk into me. But what do you call it? That's it's I've had it since I was diagnosed when I was 6, so and it's a gradual loss of vision. So I mean, you just kind of like with anything, you just kind of deal with it, and it is what it is. Other people have problems too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but sorry. Well, one of the good things about Kickstarter, and that outlet for him was because he actually did a previous Kickstarter prior to this one. It kind of used that as a launching pad, which seemed to help quite a bit. Not the second time around, unfortunately for him, but it is. I think at least another positive that's come out of this is awareness, because a lot of people. I mean, it's to me. I mean, hell, if I didn't know him, I still wouldn't know that this thing existed.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Like I think only 100,000 people in the U.S. have it, so it's relatively rare. I guess one of the benefits to it or whatever is when I'm in a cab line, they usually let me go in front. Like we were in Vegas or whatever, and we were about to leave, and there was a massive cab line. And the guy saw me, and he's like, "Oh, dude, come to the front of the line." And someone who was waiting in line was like, "Oh, that must be nice." And I said, "Well, I'd prefer eyesight, but if I can take a cab in front of you, cool." But so it does have some of its benefits. Like when I started using the cane, people got extremely nice to me, and I didn't understand why, because I just started using it. Like I'd get on an elevator, and someone would touch my arm and say, "Oh, are you having a good day?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, I feel bad because I can't see. All right, cool. Fuck it.
Yeah. So, at what point did you decide you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Oh man, I think I wanted to write screenplays. Probably after seeing Reservoir Dogs for the 100th time when I was probably in college. I never really saw myself as becoming a director or actually making films. I kind of liked writing them and started writing. I think I wrote my first one maybe 10, 13 years ago, something like that, and never really had an inkling to be the one to direct them because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And somewhere along the way, after coming close with other scripts or other projects, and at the last second either funding didn't come through, or you were overpromised something, or whatever reason something doesn't go through, I kind of just said fuck it. If I can't get someone else to make it, why don't I fucking make something? And that was when I decided to do the first Kickstarter that Jim was talking about, and it raised $65,000, but we were trying to raise 100. And looking back on it after my experience on the short film, I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, because I had enough, there was enough on my plate for a 8-minute short that shot for 3 days. I couldn't even imagine trying to do a feature on such a small budget. And so when the first Kickstarter didn't pan out, I went back, wrote some more scripts with my brother, had one optioned, had two of them optioned. Those ended up again not going anywhere. And I guess I decided, like, with my eyesight deteriorating and blah blah, I was like, well, why don't I, I almost treated it like a bucket list item. Like, well, let me give it a shot. It'd be cool to see something I wrote, completed, as a film or whatever. And that was when I decided, screw it, like I'll take one of these old blog posts I wrote and see if I can make it into a film. And I didn't really have any other short film ideas, and I'd written this post about 5 years ago, and thought that might work as a short, because it's just kind of like it was basically just 5 different little scenes. It's similar to how the short came out. The actual film is a little bit different than the actual blog post I wrote. But yeah, so here we are. It kind of paid off. So
absolutely.
Now, this one of the part of the excitement is that it did get accepted to Tribeca, which is awesome. And also, I saw today the banner on the Facebook page has changed. You also added the selection from Film Score.
Yep.
Where is what is that a selection for?
So they're a small festival in Knoxville, Tennessee, that makes it's about films with a heavy emphasis on music. So it's kind of right up the film's alley, and they invited me to play there. That's at the end of April, and I'm probably gonna go. It's just a matter, like, I'm going to New York is expensive enough as it is. But I looked up flights to Knoxville, and they're like crazy expensive. So, but yeah, I might make it down there. It's playing, I believe, the 30th as part of their shorts program. And what's cool about those guys is they don't cover your airfare, but they cover your lodging and food while you're there, which is funny because, like, Tribeca doesn't give you anything. And Tribeca is this, a monster, huge festival, and they don't cover any of your lodging or anything like that. I mean, getting into the festival is enough, I suppose, but those thing at this really small, hodunk festival from Knoxville, Tennessee, is willing to cover all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting.
Might be that Southern hospitality they talk about.
Explain the. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up with the Film Fest. How many total did you submit to, and have you heard back from all of them, or are there still other possibilities that you can throw it at?
I submitted mainly to the majors, mainly because if I got into anything, I was going to have to cut a huge check for music licensing, and it kind of, the way I weighted in my head was, if it's going to get in somewhere and I'm going to have to write a huge check, it better be like something major. And all of them rejected me except for Tribeca, obviously. And now with getting into Tribeca, now people and other festivals actually reach out to you and say, hey, would you submit your film for consideration? And they usually waive the fee. Some of them will, because it's not free to submit to a festival. They're usually, if you do it early, it's like $20. If you do it late, it's like $100.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of cool now. Like, I mean, the film kind of gets credibility by being in such a big festival, and so, like, an intern from the Milwaukee Film Festival emailed me yesterday asking me to submit. I didn't even know Milwaukee had a film festival, but yeah, he emailed. He's like, yeah, can you like submit blah blah blah. The Chicago Film Festival gave me a fee waiver to submit. There's other festivals that kind of reach out and ask, if you want to submit. So it's kind of cool. So, it'll only, if it gets into others, which I'm assuming or hoping it will, it'll kind of be like being on tour with the film for the next, several months, because I basically have the rights to the music basically from April 16th of this year till April 16th of next year. And so I can basically play in any festival through that, 12 months. So be curious to see, like, if it got into anything overseas or anything like that, and like something in London or France. Like Cannes rejected me too, but there's other film festivals in Paris or whatever. So yeah. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'll be more than willing to tour with you in the Chicago and Milwaukee locations
Yeah.
if they occur.
I'm jealous. Although I'll be touring California a lot. Wow. So explain the actual process of submitting into these festivals, Jack. You go from do you do research and you just think, okay, I want to get into this one, or do you actually just have a predetermined outlook as far as, okay, this is the one I want to get into, I'm going to submit here? Because like you said, some festivals are very expensive to submit to. How did that process go?
I basically looked at it and like asked someone what are because I've never made a film, let alone I've never even been to a film festival. So I asked like someone I knew, like, I know Sundance, and I know Cannes, but I didn't really know any of the other ones. Like, I've heard of Tribeca, I've heard of South by Southwest, obviously, but I had asked just what are the major festivals, like which ones are the ones you really want to get into, and they basically gave me a list. They gave me like Sundance, Slamdance, South by, Tribeca, Telluride, which I think they don't actually start accepting submissions until the middle of April, and then Cannes, Toronto, I forget what else, and I looked at all of them, and I'm like, and we had barely finished editing the film, and Sundance's deadline was approaching, and we hadn't even done sound yet or anything like that. And the way I looked at it was I could submit a rough cut, but like it's like $100 to submit late to Sundance, and to me I was just throwing money away if I even tried, because the film was in no shape to submit there. So I submitted to Slamdance, which was in October. They rejected me. I submitted the one I thought I actually had a shot at getting into, like seriously thought I had a shot at getting into, was South by, just because of the film's, it deals with technology and music, and it seems to be something that they're kind of into, and I got their rejection letter about 3 days before I got invited to play at Tribeca. So I basically went from completely devastated, thinking the film was a complete failure and wasn't going to go anywhere, and I'd actually emailed my editor and said, let's wrap it up, and we'll just finish this thing and send it to the Kickstarter people in like a private Vimeo link, and this thing's over. And then 3 days later, got a call from Tribeca. So I only submitted to the majors, and then once I got into Tribeca, that's when I went and looked at more regional festivals. I looked at ones that are Oscar qualifying, so like if you win Best of Festival, you can submit to the Academy Awards, because that would be kind of cool. So that's basically where I'm at now. Any festival that's basically coming up now, I'll usually send a note to them saying like, hey, this thing's playing at Tribeca, would you like to screen it? And then they'll usually say, yeah, sure, go to this form and pay, or they'll say, yeah, sure, just send us a note and your fee's been waived. So yeah, and I mean the way you submit is you use a thing called Without a Box, or a service called Film Freeway, which you basically fill out a form, you give them an online screener, or in Tribeca's case, they required you to submit through their website. You had to burn a DVD, send them the DVD. And for the most part, for shorts, they usually just accept an online screener or something like that. And it's basically you're filling out forms all day and just submitting it that way.
Interesting.
Now, one last question, at least for me, for the films. Now, with all those that have passed, because you said you have the year-long license,
yeah.
Have you heard of any possibilities or the likelihoods of those, that said no this time, saying yes next time?
I know some of them say they don't accept resubmissions. I don't know how true that is. I know some of the bigger festivals will say, "Well, you played at Tribeca, so we don't want it," because
Uh,
it can kind of like it gets somewhat political. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
and then the other thing is, since Tribeca, like our short is in a special category that plays in their online festival. So during the 12 days of the festival, you can watch the movie on your app or on your phone using their app, and that disqualifies you from some festivals. Some festivals won't accept your film if it's been played online at all,
Wow.
which just to me seems just so like ridiculous. But
Yeah.
part of me is almost like, how would they even know? Like, like are you gonna Google it and figure out like, oh wait, that was online for a day, you know? But yeah, I might submit again to Sundance, Slam Dance, South by, because the film technically wasn't finished until March, like about 2 weeks ago, so or 3 weeks ago. So it would fall into their specific calendar of when they actually accept a film. So I might submit again, and at least this time I'd be able to submit early to all of them. So the fees are much less. Like if you submit on their early deadline, it's like $20. It's really inexpensive.
Yeah.
The minute you get to the late one is when it becomes really expensive.
Well, good luck with that, man. I really wish you the best of luck with that.
Oh, thanks, man.
I definitely see a lot of potential in this. Let's go back to the to making of it. How did you come up with the idea, and how did you go about actually making it?
Okay. The idea came to me. It originally started as a blog post, and this was probably 2009. I was sitting on my couch in my apartment bored, and I think for the past few days before that, people had been telling me I should check out The Wire, and I had looked on Netflix and it wasn't on there. It wasn't on Amazon Instant Video. It wasn't anywhere accessible to me at all except for BitTorrent. So I downloaded the entire series, ordered a pizza, and by the time the pizza arrived, I started watching season 1. And I got this thought in my head of, is piracy more about convenience? Like, is it I pirate because I don't really pirate music anymore because it's so fucking easy to just whip out my phone and download a song.
Yeah.
It would take longer for me to go into BitTorrent, find the thing, make sure it's the right thing, and download it, then load up iTunes and click a button. And so that's where the gist of the line in the film, it's now easier to purchase music than it is to steal it. That's kind of where that whole genesis came from. And I just started writing this blog post, and I wanted to write this just kind of editorial about the changing landscape of music purchasing technology. And I thought, well, what better way to do it than tell it narratively through someone's life? And the blog post is much more autobiographical than the film is. The film is slightly autobiographical. The reason I changed it up a little bit for the film was to kind of give the character more of an arc, so you could see him as meet his future wife, have a kid, have this nice house in the burbs kind of thing. So that's where the idea came from. And as far as how we made it, we raised the funds on Kickstarter, and from the day after that, I spent probably 3 to 4 hours every day trying to find locations, trying to clear artwork, trying to find music, trying to find crew. I work in an ad agency, so I have people that know people that work on commercials, which is if you're a gaffer or a grip, it's the same thing anyway. So so I found a producer through that who had started helping me find crew, because I don't really know anyone in the film industry because I've never made a film before. And so he helped me find a bunch of those people. Location scouting took forever, just trying to find, because I had very specific locations in mind. I needed a record store. I needed a parking garage. I tried my damnedest to get into a Best Buy or a somewhat big box store, but we ended up having to settle for the parking lot. And then it was, okay, I have houses available, And then it was trying to find 3 consecutive days that all of those things were available. And that was just incredibly challenging to do. We had, every time I had, locked it all in and was making the final phone call to see, okay, cool, is Jim available, like, to be in this scene? And he's like, nah, dude, I'm out of town. Okay, this all doesn't work. And then it was, all right, cool, it's all set in. Is my buddy's house available? Oh, no, we're out of town for one of those days. Or then it was a crew member was out, or the location wasn't available. So that pre-production was just, scheduling it was just a complete nightmare, trying to get all of that, lined up. And then, we had, at one point we had locked in days, we were good to go, and then the DP flaked on us, like 3 days before we were supposed to shoot. He just stopped calling everyone. And so we had to cancel that, and then I had to recast because the new dates we were going to have, both my lead actors weren't available. So I was like, it was just, I was walking around with like a knot in my stomach for like a month and a half just trying to get this thing made. And after the DP flaked or whatever, it took about a month to find new dates or whatever. But then it finally all kind of came together, and I think our first day of filming was August 13th, and we shot at a pretty famous record store in Chicago. They basically allowed us to shoot there for free as long as we shot there while the store was open, and we didn't ask them to turn the music off. And since we weren't recording any on-set dialogue or on-set sound, that was completely fine. And I remember thinking, all right, cool, like, if the scene takes place in 1996, the store looks like it could have been around in the 90s. The only thing we'd have to worry about is if any people are in there modernly dressed or checking their iPhones or things like that. And I thought, who possibly would be at a record store at 9 in the morning on a Wednesday? And there was an ass ton of people that ended up showing up. So, like, we got off one shot in the store, and then like 20 hipsters showed up and got in to every location of that store, so continuity was completely destroyed. So I remember looking at this as these people walked in, and we basically weren't allowed to tell them to move. Like, the store owner's like, look, they're my customers, like, can't ask them to leave or anything. You knew the store would be open. And so I remember, like, my entire filmmaking life flashing before my eyes, thinking I had this elaborate, like, setup for how I wanted the record store to be, and all of that got just completely thrown out. Like, forget it, all our shot lists, forget about it. Like, where in the store is no one at? And we would put the camera there, and then we would wait for someone to leave, and then we'd go back and run and shoot or whatever. So, yeah, like, and I think we were only in the store for like 3 hours or something like that. And, from then on, it was just, you kind of realize you planned all this stuff, and then you just kind of have to wing it when you actually get to the location, because, you never know what the hell's going to happen or whatever. So, the rest of the locations were pretty easy, but that was the toughest one, and it was the first day, and it was like my first time ever like yelling action, and I felt really awkward like yelling action, so I would say it kind of low key, and people were like, dude, did you say it? I'm like, oh yeah, action. It was just really, I was really awkward at it, and finally by the third day I was like screaming at people. So it was a cool process. I remember after it was all said and done, I remember thinking, like, I will never do that again. Like, this is, my life as a director is, this isn't for me, blah, blah, blah. And then once you start editing it together and you get sound and you see what you've created, it's kind of like, okay, cool, what am I going to do next? So, yeah, so, I mean, it was fun, man. It was a good, I mean, if it didn't end up in, like, a bigger festival, I might have had a different outlook on how I viewed the whole process, but, the fact that it did get into a bigger festival, it is somewhat vindication, kind of made it all worthwhile.
It's good to hear, man. It's good to hear. I know Kupka's seen it. Like I said, I watched it for the first time last night, and I just want to give one little anecdote of what you did in there. You have a scene of a bunch of kids going to a record store on September 10th, 2001.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, man, that really hit me because you're looking at these kids, their whole lives revolve around this one record that they're going to get.
Yeah.
And then the very next day, their lives just completely changed. That was just an incredible comparison of life to reality that really hit me hard, man. I really respected what you did with that scene. I thought it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole film is about change, right? And I mean, what the fuck changed our lives more than that day?
Yeah.
And that one's very autobiographical because me, Jim, I think my brother, and I think someone else were at Tower Records on September 10th, 2001, the night Slayer's God Hates Us All goes on sale. And I remember thinking like for the, like in the film, you notice how like every scene has a title and they're almost titled like music videos. And it took forever to figure out like where do we place the titles. I kept going back and forth. Like in the original script, it was like the time and place was always narrated. So it would have been, it's September 10th, 2001, blah, blah, blah. And I just ended up not liking that, and I thought, well, what if we just place it all like music videos? Like each scene is like a music video. And I hope people, they give it a look and have, like the fact that you had that reaction is like, it's so awesome because that's exactly what I'm hoping people see, and especially with a New York audience, because no one was affected by fucking 9/11 more than those guys.
Yeah.
And so when they see that, and like, because it probably would take them a second or two to, you read it, and you see the date, and you're like 11/24, and you're like, fuck, in 9 hours, like everything changed, like everything did. Like I just thinking back to like pre 9/11, and just how it split everything in half or whatever. And so, it's so cool to hear that you had that reaction to it.
Absolutely. You mentioned you were friends with Jim back then. How long have you guys been friends? How long have you known each other?
Fuck. Let's see, freshman year of high school, so 22 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really long fucking time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and it's cool in this instance because I get to be behind the scenes for a lot of this shit. So it's been quite the experience for myself, kind of on the sidelines, listening, going to breakfast every weekend, and being like, all right, so what's going on? This is going on. This is going on. Jesus Christ, I can't believe you're still doing this.
Yeah.
11 months later.
Yeah, that was like when people around December were kind of like, hey, is the film done yet? And you keep hearing that over and over again, and it's like, well, I mean, it's done insofar as, like, the edit's done, the sound design is pretty much done. I don't have all the songs cleared. I didn't have the end titles designed yet. It's done, like, you can watch it, but it's not real, and then it's not color corrected yet, so, yada, 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 and then when you keep getting rejection letters, because you want to tell everyone, hey, I got into this thing, and it'll be done when the film festival's on, and then like with each rejection, it's like fuck, like, and so finally when South by rejected it, was when I kind of sent a note to everyone who backed it on Kickstarter saying like, hey, make sure you give me your T-shirt size and shit like that. We're gonna wrap this whole thing up, blah blah. I kind of need to put this project to bed, and it would have been the first like film thing that I ever officially kind of quit on, because a screenplay you can always go back and do another draft. Like if no one's bought it yet, you can just always keep rewriting it. With a film that potentially no one wanted to see, you just kind of put it on Vimeo, put a password up, and kind of move on. And I had gotten to that point. I had reached that level where it was cool. Like I was fine with it. I'd in my head put it to bed and was ready to move on, and then got the call from Tribeca saying, hey, we'd love to have you, and oh, by the way, we'd like to play it online, which then required me to go back and clear internet streaming rights for all the songs. And so, I went from complete, almost at peaceness, if that's even a word, to then, holy fuck, I have to actually get all these things approved. I need to talk to my lawyer to make sure like all the clearances that I went through are actually clearances, and that I'm not going to get sued by everyone in the film. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that's what, like, when I finally shipped the thing off, you know, it was kind of like just this kind of weight off your shoulders, where it's like, you know, it's done now. I can't make any more changes. It's done. It's cool. Unless, of course, you know, I do the fucking special edition or something like that. So
Yeah. Interesting you say special edition. You know, this thing is 8 minutes long. It's, you know, it's very compact. It's very well done. Do you have any plans to maybe expand it into a feature? Or because I can see a lot of potential in you doing that, quite honestly, and watching it.
you know, in all honesty, when I did it, I did it almost so that it wouldn't potentially, like, I didn't foresee anyone actually saying, because you're not the first one to bring this up. I never envisioned anyone saying, like, dude, like, I want more. Like, I want to know more about these characters. I want to know more about him. And I remember when I when I was kicking around doing a short, I kept thinking, do I take one of my features and maybe do a prologue? Do I find a character in one of my features and just do like a 10-minute thing on that guy? So that way I could then say, well, this guy's part of a feature that I have. Would you be interested in reading that? And I kind of did this one so it would be completely self-contained and say, like, this is the story. And then I keep hearing from people that, like, I mean, it's good to hear that people want more, because the worst thing you want to do is bore people or say, dude, that was way too long. Because one thing I notice in short films, they usually drag, which is ironic because they're short.
Yeah.
You know, they usually drag like crazy. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd be open to it. I have like scripts that deal sort of with a group of guys hanging out together, kind of almost like I call it like a blue collar version of Entourage, or like a, you know, a swingers of the modern day, if you will.
Or like early Linkletter, that kind of.
Yeah, very talky stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I'd be open to it completely. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, if people are interested in it that much, then, you know, who am I to say no? So, but yeah, totally, I'd be open to it. Yeah.
Sorry, Garrett.
Okay.
I was one of the ones who did say that, and I was thinking about that statement earlier today because I was hoping that it would come up, and I'm really glad you feel the same way that I do. There are very few movies that have such a powerful character in it, which is the music, and they do it so well. But they usually are period pieces where it's the music of just that time.
Yeah.
And what makes it unique, and part of why I want to see more, is because, you know, you expand that and you bring through so much more of the music. And I think, you know, feature film, more money. Maybe some of these bands that you couldn't get, you know, well, that's the yes.
Like the Deftones, who basically said, "Come back when you have a distributor." It's like, really? Like, really? The Deftones? Like, you guys aren't that big. You know.
Well, and those are some of my favorite films, and yeah, I would love if you expanded on that personally.
I mean, we'll see, maybe. You know.
When do you think people will actually get a chance to see this?
So it premieres at Tribeca next Thursday, so April 16th at 6:30 p.m. at the Regal 11 in Battery Park. And then 3 hours after that, so around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it will be on TribecaFilm.com. So people can actually go and watch it online for the 12 days of the festival. And then they pull it down, and then it'll be, you know, whenever... you know, whatever other festival it plays at is, you know, the next time people will be able to see it. There's really, I had one of the actors, his mom, emailed me and said, "Where can I buy a copy?" And I said, you know, short films usually don't go on sale, just because, like, ironically, Americans have the shortest attention span, but we hate short films as a people for some reason. We just don't like short films. In Europe, they're huge. So it's entirely possible, like, I'll be able to sell the foreign rights, or at least license the film to, you know, the European continent or whatever, because they actually have television shows just completely dedicated to short films. So it's possible that'll happen. The one hindrance to all of this is music is such a, like, if you take the music out of the film just doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
And getting someone to license a short film and then cover the cost of the music licensing might be too expensive for someone to even bother. So I don't know. Like I've never been in the situation where I had to like talk to a sales distributor or sales agent to then talk about distribution and how all that would work. But yeah, to answer your question, basically next Thursday night, everyone with an internet connection will be able to watch it.
Awesomeness. As far as your future, what do you have planned? Do you see yourself doing a feature, or are you going to stay as a documentary filmmaker, or how do you see your future in this business?
Yeah, so once they announced the lineup at Tribeca, I kind of went out and tried to find other people in my category, in my shorts category, to kind of follow them on Twitter, get to know them, blah, blah. And I kind of started talking to this girl, Robin, who is an actress and a line producer. And we kind of got to talking, and she asked to like look at some of my features or whatever, so I sent her over a couple of them that I thought could potentially be doable on like an indie budget. You know, I didn't send her the Western I have because, you know, horses are expensive.
Yeah.
So I sent her over a couple, and she really responded well to one of them. And she and I have been working on putting together a pitch document together. We already have like a teaser poster together, or put together, and it's a feature-length film. So I mean, that's kind of where we're headed, to basically put that all together and, you know, try and raise some cash to make that. So that would be a feature. So that's potentially what's next, you know, God willing. And yeah, I mean, if you would have asked me on the last day of filming the short if I could see myself doing a feature, I was so exhausted I probably would have like said, God, no. Like, there's no way I could do this for a month. You know, it's been 3 days, and there's just no way I could do this for a month. And of course, you know, now I kind of can't wait to do it again. I think I might, if we raised, you know, a decent amount of money to make a feature, I'd probably would try and do another short prior to. Nothing on a scale, nothing like with the music budget or anything like that the Gen X thing had, but, you know, something that had more actors acting with each other, because a lot of the film is just told through narration.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I wasn't confident enough in my directing skills to get a group of, you know, I don't want to say subpar actors because I think everyone did a great job, but, you know, you kind of can get what you can pay for, and yeah. I just didn't think I had the skill set yet to actually sit down with a group of actors and get them to get the performances. So it was written in a way to kind of protect me and protect them against that, where it was almost a silent film with someone narrating and then just, you know, a few lines here or there. So before doing a feature, and Jim can attest to this, all my features are very dialogue heavy. Like, that's all I do. I write dialogue. So if I was going to jump into one of my features that just has everyone talking to each other constantly, I probably would want to have more experience doing that prior to actually, you know, having real money on the line, where if I fuck that up, you know, then I'm really screwed, as opposed to if I just fuck up a short film, like, no one's going to give a damn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there might be another short mixed in there along the way. So I know, like, Tribeca offers grants that you can apply for, you know, once you become like an alumni and things like that. So I might reach out to them to do something like that, to make like a short prior to doing a feature, just to, because I mean, I have 3 total days of directing experience. You know, I have months of you know, working with my editor, and like months of like being a music supervisor or a clearance supervisor or all that other stuff I ended up doing. But the actual being on set directing people was like a total of 3 days. So I could definitely use more, you know, more experience there.
Gotcha. Kupka?
I don't know what else to say. I mean, I love the goddamn thing. You mentioned the night it opens. How many other screenings are there for it at Tribeca?
There's a total of 4. April 16th is a premiere, and then April 20th, the 22nd, and the 25th. But the 25th is sold out. So
now that kind of boggled my mind when I saw you post that. Is that typical?
Why the last one sold out?
Yeah.
It's in a smaller theater.
Oh, okay.
So our first screening, I think, is a 500-seat theater, and the final one is like in a 100-seat theater. So just like you can buy tickets to each. Every filmmaker gets 3 tickets comped. You can buy 3 more yourself at a discount. So let's say if everyone bought 6, right? That's 42 immediately gone. There's 50 more available to the public. It's on a Saturday afternoon, so it's probably easier for people to go to that.
Yeah.
There's a few shorts in there that are by people that live in New York. So I'm assuming they'll have friends and family and things like. If the film plays in Chicago, I'm guessing I'll be able to bring a lot more people than I am to New York. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why the final day got sold out. Like I remember thinking about that too. I'm like, how the fuck did the final one sell out and like the premiere's not sold out yet? Because isn't everyone interested in the premiere?
Yeah.
And that was why it's in a much smaller theater.
Okay.
Gotcha. Well, I did want to close out with this. Now, you got the email, Jack. You have to play the King of Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Do you have anything in mind as far as if you had unlimited means, what you would make?
So I have the first thing I tried to kickstart was this. It was originally called Four of a Kind, and I hate puns, so I changed the name to Dead Peasants. And it was the first screenplay that I ever wrote that had a semblance of a story and structure to it. And I wrote that like 12 years ago. I actually submitted it to Project Greenlight Season 3 and advanced pretty far in it. So that thing's been rewritten about 1,000 times or whatever. And every time I go back to it, it's kind of like being reacquainted with old friends just because I love the characters so much. Yeah. So if I had unlimited means, I would probably hire Aaron Sorkin to ghostwrite the rest of it and do a rewrite. And then probably, fucking have Scorsese direct it.
Awesome.
I would just be like Harvey Weinstein and be like, fuck it, dude, just show it to me when it's done. Mark me as the exec producer. I'll fucking accept the Oscar on your behalf. And so yeah, I'd probably hire Trent Reznor to do the score.
Awesome. Actors?
Oh fuck. It's changed. Like since I wrote it 12 years ago, right? So like the actors that I've always had in mind have probably changed, but I'd probably go with. Oh fuck, man! It's been so long since I thought about who I'd want to see acting. I remember at one point I thought about Shia LaBeouf playing a character, but he's so fucking crazy that.
Who was he gonna play?
Like probably John. I think he could, if he buffed up a little bit, I think he could play the John character.
Yeah. What about Gyllenhaal? You mentioned LaBeouf, but
Gyllenhaal. Maybe I thought if Joseph Gordon-Levitt got beefed up a little bit, he would be great.
Wow.
I'm a huge I'm a big Adam Driver fan, so like I think he could play one of the guys just because he's just so fucking weird looking and like kind of an awkward actor that I just kind of love the guy. So yeah, and then like there's like 2 cops in the movie that I'd probably want Tom Sizemore and Wendell Pierce to play those guys. Fuck.
That sounds pretty epic.
Yeah, so I think Scorsese would do a great job of it. So.
Yeah, he's. I think he's kind of proven himself at this point.
Yeah, he's all right. Scorsese. So the final day of Tribeca, they're showing the 25th. They're doing a 25th anniversary screening of Goodfellas with a Q&A with the cast hosted by Jon Stewart. And I'm like, I'm not going to be there for it because I'm not staying the entire festival. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Wow.
I was like, that's like tickets for that thing were like $300. And I'm like, I think it would be worth it anyways because, Goodfellas is easily one of my favorite movies. So, but yeah, so I was like, fuck. They did tell me that if they think I'm going to win an award, they'll give me a tip-off so that I'll be at the award ceremony. So I've kind of told my work, like, I'm scheduled to come back on the 22nd. However, if I'm winning an award, I'm going to be there the whole fucking time. So if I manage to do that, I might try and get tickets to that Goodfellas screening, because that would be fucking cool.
That would be cool to go to, actually. Yeah. Even, I'm myself, I count myself as a non-fan of that movie. But even, I'm sorry. I don't really get the appeal of that movie. Yeah. But that event is something I would go to in a heartbeat. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Not a Goodfellas fan, huh? Not at all?
No, I don't. My mom loves it. It's like one of her favorite movies ever. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those movies that just doesn't resonate with me. But
is it the last 15 minutes?
I think that has a lot to do with it. Yeah.
All right. I can understand that because I love the movie, but when once the whole coked out tweaking. That shit just, I don't know. It kind of the tone of it changes so much.
Yeah.
That I can understand your feelings about it that way.
Don't get me wrong.
It's still an amazing movie.
Don't get me wrong. It's beautifully done. I mean, he's got that one tracking shot in the restaurant that is just. I don't think there'll ever be a shot that'll match that.
Right.
It's an amazingly shot film, and I can respect it for what it is. It's just as a story, and I think a lot of it has to do with Henry Hill too. I mean, the guy is he was such a weird piece of shit. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I understand the appeal of it. It's just it just didn't resonate with me. But that particular cast setting would be something I would love to go to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Did you like? All right. Did you like Wolf of Wall Street?
I did.
See, I did. To me, they're the exact same movie. One of them deals with the mob. One deals with stockbrokers or whatever. So I'm curious that you would like. Because I remember watching Wolf of Wall Street and being like, I haven't been that entertained while sober in God knows how long. Like, I love the ever-loving shit out of that. Like, I had a smile on my face the entire fucking movie. Or whatever.
Me too.
And I remember just watching and being like, this is Goodfellas with stockbrokers. And it just it warmed my heart so much, so... But
you know what it was? You know what it was with Wolf of Wall Street? I think it was just because they were so degenerative. They were so just complete assholes that, Scorsese didn't try to make you like them. Yeah. He just kind of just showed them doing just complete debauchery and just made you judge for yourself. I think that's what that was. Yeah. Wow, Jack. I gotta say, like I was telling Jim before we got you on the line, when people come to me with guests, they can go either way. Yeah. You've proven to be just remarkable from your film to this interview to your future. I see great things for you, man. I'm happy to have you on the show. The name of the film, fuck. The name of the film is The Evolution of the Gen X Purchaser.
Don't worry, I showed my dad, and he's like, what the fuck does that even mean? I'm like, don't worry about it.
It's tremendous. All right, Kupka, do you have anything, bud?
Nothing. I'm good.
Sweet. I'm good. Cool, man.
All right, we'll look forward in the future.
Kupka, yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
I got layered feedback.
Oh. It's always fucking
good.
Okay. Just making sure. All right, the film is. Tribeca, and I'm looking forward to what you have in the future, bud. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks you people for listening.
Yeah.